Part 14. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 131. Chapter 131 Fire in the Backyard. The boy looked at Song Ting-zi and suddenly thought of a possibility. He looked at her with a look of resentment and said, "Did you reject me because you like him?" But when he thought that the other party's conditions were better than his own, the boy couldn't help but weaken a little. He frowned and said, "I thought you were different from others, but I didn't expect you to be as vulgar as them. You girls are just superficial. Only focusing on a person's appearance. I will prove to you that your vision is wrong." After saying that, he moved to an empty seat next to him without looking at Lu Ning. He looked aggressive and insulted, as if Lu Ning had done something to feel sorry for him. Lu Ning only felt that this person was not seriously ill. Sorry, Lu Ning glanced at Song Ting-zi and never thought that he would be involved. It's okay. Aunt Tang asked me to take care of you more at school. If you encounter trouble at school in the future, you can ask me for help. Thank you. She didn't expect to meet a psychopath talking to himself on her first day in the competition class. But judging from the other party's appearance, he probably won't bother her again in the future. As for the other party mistakenly thinking that she likes Song Ting-zi, as long as he stops saying some incomprehensible words to her, he can think whatever he thinks. She didn't bother to explain. Song Ting-zi also heard what he just said. The other party shouldn't misunderstand anything, right? Lu Ning thought for a while and then said, "Don't get me wrong. What he just said?" Song Ting-zi didn't wait for the other party to finish what he said, and then said, "I know." "It's good that you know," Lu Ning nodded, but did not continue. It's just that she forgot that there were other people in the class. In addition, Sun Baran's voice was so loud that most people in the classroom heard it, and Lu Ning did not deny it. Moreover, she and Song Ting-zi came in together just now. Everyone knew that these two were in puppy love. Everyone looked at the two people's eyes, from being surprised at the beginning to quickly accepting this matter. After all, these two people are a perfect match in terms of appearance and academic performance. It seems normal to be together. Because the people in the competition class came from different classes, after hearing the news, everyone immediately sent a message to tell their best classmates in the class. The classmates also told their classmates, and soon the news of the two being together spread throughout the world. All grades know it. In the internet cafe, Zhang Shu ran up to Lu Xian with his cell phone in hand and said excitedly, "Third brother, third brother." Lu Xian was fighting the big dragon. When he heard this, he didn't even raise his head and said, "Even if the sky falls, wait until I finish fighting this one." Statement. She lowered her head and checked the content on her phone. Then he raised his head and looked at Lu Xian, who was concentrating on playing games. Tisk, the backyard was on fire, and he was still in the mood to play games. The third brother deserved to have his beard cut off. Anyway, it's not like the person you like is being chased away by others, so the person involved isn't in a hurry, he is in a hurry. It wasn't until the sound of the dragon being killed was heard on the page that Lu Xian raised his head and said, "What did you want to say just now?" At this moment, the statement was unheard and he said, "Oh, a buddy from my next class just sent me a message, saying that Sister Ning and Song Sushan are together, and that Sister Ning admitted it herself. It's so big, how come we don't know about this? Sister Ning has done a great job keeping it secret." "What did you just say?" Lu Xian suddenly stood up from the chair, and even the headphone cord was torn off and fell to the ground. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 132. Chapter 132. Looking at the shocked and surprised expression on the other party's face, Shu Yan handed the phone to the other party without hesitation and said, "Here, if you don't believe me, you can see for yourself." On the chat interface, there were not only chat records from other groups, but also photos of Lu Ning and Song Tingzi sitting and talking together, and of the two entering the classroom together. Since the two people in the photo were both the talk of the year, the news spread quickly. By the time it reached the statement, "I don't know who it was," Lu Xian couldn't help but frown when he looked at the two people in the photo. Although they didn't act particularly intimately, they looked inexplicably annoying. He didn't quite believe what his friend said on WeChat. The girl had clearly promised him not to fall in love early in high school. There must have been some misunderstanding. The only way to find out is to ask the girl in person. Lu Xian threw the phone back to the other party, and then picked up the phone he put on the table to call the girl, but it only rang once and was hung up. Lu Xian continued to play without giving up, but this time it showed that the phone was shut down. Lu Xian's brows were frowning so hard that he could kill a fly. "Third brother, what's going on? Sister Ning is really with the transfer student." "How would I know?" Lu Xian looked irritated, and he was no longer in the mood to play games. The girl had mentioned before that she was going to join some competitive class during the holidays. He thought it was similar to the interest classes outside, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Unexpectedly, he was actually with that guy. If I had known earlier, he would have signed up. It's okay for these two to live together. Now they even have to go to class together, so why not just become conjoined twins? The more Lu Xian thought about it, the more he couldn't sit still, so he stood up and walked outside. "Third brother, you don't want to play anymore?" Shen Shan asked subconsciously. The only person who answered him was someone's back. "Tisk," she said as she glanced at her phone. It seems that the third brother has really fallen into trouble this time. After coming out of the internet cafe, Lu Xian directly dialed the number of the class teacher of class 13. When they heard it was him, they thought he was going to ask about class placement, so they immediately said, "Lu Xian, don't worry, the teacher will definitely do what he promised you because of Lu Xian's final exam results this time. He has made great progress, and the attitude of the head teacher of class 13 towards him has completely changed. In the past, I looked at him as if I were a stirrer, but after the results came out, I looked at him almost like his biological father. To be able to improve so much in less than 2 months, in his opinion, this is definitely a good candidate for studying. It's not that he couldn't learn before, he just didn't want to learn. If he studies hard, his grades will definitely not be bad. It's a pity that he can only teach ordinary high school students next semester, otherwise he would have to put him in his own class. I came to you this time because I have something else to ask for your help with," Lu Xian said. "Is it a matter of study?" When the head teacher of class 13 heard that he was asking for help, he thought he had encountered some difficulties in study. "That's right," Lu Xian said. The latter heard that it was related to study, and immediately said, "You said, as long as the teacher can help you, he will definitely help you." He was quite happy to think that he had become the teacher that students thought of whenever they had difficulties. "For the first time, I felt that my role as a class teacher was not in vain. Not only did I save a problem student and help him return from his lost path, but he also became a guiding light on his learning path. After so many years, he finally found the sense of accomplishment of being a class teacher in the other party." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 133. Chapter 133 Gaining a Sense of Presence. Lu Xian, I heard that the school has organized a summer competition class, and I also want to sign up. On the other end of the phone, the smiling man's face suddenly stiffened, regretting that he had spoken too soon. Well, as far as the teacher knows, the school's competition class is subject to registration and selection, and the list has been decided early. Although your test scores have improved a lot this time, you are still a little away from the school's competition selection standards. The teacher also wants to help you, but I'm afraid it won't work this time. However, don't be discouraged. There will still be a chance after the second year of high school. You can apply to the school again. If you work hard during the summer vacation, you will definitely be able to do it next time. I understand, thank you, teacher. The head teacher of class 13 on the other side wanted to say something else, but Lucien had already hung up the phone neatly. Then he hailed a taxi. Summer competition classes are similar to regular classes. They have classes all day long. There is a 1-hour break at noon so everyone can solve the problem of lunch. However, during this period, the canteen will not serve meals. If you want to eat, you can only go to restaurants near the school. Of course, if you live nearby, you can also eat at home. However, in order to save time, most people choose to eat somewhere near the school. The family originally planned to deliver meals to the two of them at noon, but Lu Ning and Song Tingzi refused. Song Wanzhou gave Song Tingzi some money and asked him to take Lu Ning out to eat together at noon. After the morning class, Lu Ning and Song Tingzi came out of school and were discussing what to eat when they saw Lucien standing at the school gate. "Why are you here?" Lu Ning stepped forward in confusion. Lucien raised his eyebrows and said, "I want to have dinner with you." "You came all the way from home just to have dinner with me." Lu Ning twitched the corner of her mouth, not knowing whether she should say that the other person was full to hold on, or that there was something wrong with him somewhere. "Lucien, my parents are not at home, so it's boring to eat alone." "Didn't you tell them something? Why don't you go with them, anyway? They always hang out together during the holidays." "They all went home to eat." Lucien shrugged, glanced at Song Tingzi behind her, raised his eyebrows lazily and said, "What, you don't want to eat with me?" "No, I still have to go to class in the afternoon. It's not necessary for you to go all the way just to have dinner with me," Lu Ning said. "Brother is happy this girl now lives in the Song family and faces the pretty boy named Song every day. If she doesn't show any sense of presence anymore, this girl will probably only see the other person in her eyes, and she won't even remember herself." "Okay. As long as you are happy anyway, the person running around is not himself, as long as he doesn't find it troublesome." Lucien's complexion improved slightly and he asked her, "What should we eat?" Lu Ning turned around and looked at Song Tingzi. Lucien's face couldn't help but darken, and he said in annoyance, "You can just say what you want to eat, why do you have to go see other people?" He is a big boy who has to pick and choose after eating. "You think everyone is like you?" Lu Ning glared at the other person angrily. This person would never get tired of eating instant noodles for a week. Lucien curled his lips disapprovingly. What's wrong with him because he loves instant noodles? Then he glanced at Song Ting provocatively. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 134. Chapter 134, My Heart is Wrong. Lucien curled his lips disapprovingly. What's wrong with him because he loves instant noodles? Then he glanced at Song Ting provocatively. It doesn't matter, I can do it, Song Tingzi said slowly. Lucien immediately said, Look, he said so himself. Okay, shut up, Lu Ning glared at him again. He didn't know what was going on with this guy. He had always disliked Song Tingzi, and it was obvious that no one else had ever provoked him, let alone that other people's previous notes had helped him so much. Thinking again of what Song Tingzi had said before about this guy thanking him, he probably had convulsions that time. I heard before that there is a good restaurant near the school. The food is delicious and not expensive. Let's go there and eat, she said. Lucien curled his lips. This girl actually attacked him for the pretty boy named Song. So angry. I knew I couldn't let these two people stay together. This girl's heart is starting to grow a bit eccentric. But no matter how angry you are, you can't show it. You have to endure it. Otherwise, wouldn't you be giving the other party an opportunity to take advantage of it and let the other party see the joke? Lucian: okay, you can eat wherever you want. I can do it. Song Tingzi: it doesn't matter to me either. Then let's go. Lu Ning also breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Lucian finally stopped deliberately looking for trouble. After all, it was difficult for her to be caught in the middle. There are many restaurants on this street near the school. They usually provide meals for students, and the prices are not expensive. Lu Ning and the other two walked into the restaurant mentioned earlier. Due to the summer vacation, there were not many people in the restaurant. You order first. After the three of them found a seat and sat down, Lu Ning handed the menu to Song Tingzi first. Song Tingzi flatly refused and said, "No, I don't know what delicious food is available here. You'd better order it." "It's just an order, it's my mother-in-law's, it's so troublesome if you don't order it." "I'll order it." Lucian snatched the menu away and said rudely. Lucian ordered 2 spicy dishes in a row. A certain pretty boy couldn't eat spicy food at first sight. Seeing Lu Ning give him a warning look, telling him not to go too far, he calmed down a little and handed the menu back to Lu Ning. "I just want these 2 dishes, you can take care of the rest." After taking back the menu, Lu Ning added 2 more light stir-fry dishes and a soup, and then asked Song Tingzi, "Do you want to add anything else?" She and the other party had such a meal at the same table, so she naturally knew that the other party would not like it. "Eat spicy food." "No, these are enough." Song Tingzi looked at her, a hint of softness flashed across his originally expressionless face. The 2 dishes the other party had just ordered were both his favorites. "Then let's start with these." Lu Ning closed the menu and handed it to the proprietress. Since it is a mom and pop shop, there are only 2 people in the shop, the boss and his wife. Fortunately, there were not many people and the food was served very quickly. The 3 of them had 4 dishes and 1 soup. Song Tingzi only ate the light ones, but the 2 spicy dishes that Lucian ate the most were not actually the ones he ate the most. I don't know whether it was intentional or for other reasons, but during this period, I kept fighting with Song Tingzi over the 2 light dishes, and among the 3 of them, Lu Ning was the one who could eat spicy food the most. Those 2 dishes seemed to have been specially ordered for her. "Do you like spicy food?" Song Tingzi looked at Lu Ning and asked after coming out of the small restaurant. Lu Ning nodded, "Not bad." "I will tell Aunt Zhang next time," Song Ting said. "Need not." As soon as Lu Ning opened her mouth, she was interrupted by Lucian. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 135. Chapter 135. See clearly who is the best person for you. As soon as Lu Ning opened her mouth, she was interrupted by Lucian. "No need, no need. Aunt Tang is now the mistress of that family, and you are considered a member of that family. You are not living under someone else's roof, so why are you abusing yourself? If you can't even eat well, you might as well not go back to that house." Lu Ning looked at him and said, "Have you taken a shot?" He kept talking with a gun and a stick. Lucian spoke lazily, with a hint of spark. "I just can't stand that kid. Anyone who dared to rob him would not be allowed to say anything to him." "Childish." Lu Ning gave him an indifferent look and said, "I'm going back to class." "Okay," Lucian responded and asked her again, "By the way, when do you plan to move back?" "Just these 2 days, she has lived in the Song family for nearly a week." Lucian directly made the decision for her. "Don't go back to these 2 days, just today. When you go home in the evening, I will ask my mother to prepare delicious food for you. Don't go back there. I don't even know what you like to eat. At first glance, I don't really trust you. No matter how good my words are, it's just superficial work." "Stop sowing discord," Lu Ning glared at her. Lucian raised his hand and rubbed her forehead hard and said, Little girl, be smart and see clearly who is the best person for you. You're so annoying. Lu Ning straightened the hair that was messed up by him and glared at him. Let's go. Lu Xian retracted his hand, put it in his pants pocket, and slowly walked towards the bus stop. Song Tingzi looked at Lu Xian walking away, then looked back at Lu Ning and said, "You two have a good relationship." Well, Lu Ning nodded without hesitation. After moving to the new house, he and his family took good care of me. As you know, my mother was very busy at work and basically had no time to take care of me, so he kept taking care of me. He took it home to eat, and then my mother simply let me eat it at his house. Song Tingzi glanced at her and said nothing. After finishing their classes in the afternoon, Lu Ning and Song Tingzi packed up their things and walked out of the classroom together. They noticed that the people in front of them reacted a little strangely. Some people specifically turned their heads to look at Lu Ning and Song Tingzi. A trace of doubt flashed across Lu Ning's face. When he got outside, he found Lu Xian leaning against the door. "Haven't this guy already gone back? Why are you still there?" Lu Ning stepped forward and said, "Why are you here again?" Lu Xian didn't seem to realize how unexpected he was here. He faced the other party's probing gaze openly, took the skull bag on Lu Ning's back skillfully and naturally and said, "I'm here to take you home, isn't it? Have you agreed to move back in today?" "Who told you?" It was obviously this guy talking to himself. Lu Xian shrugged and said, "My mother is already cooking for you at home. If you don't go back, then you can call her and tell her yourself." Lu Ning. Why does she feel like this guy is not here to pick someone up? It seems that he is here to play rogue. Forget it, I'll go anyway. She originally planned to stay back in the next 2 days. Then he looked at Song Tingzi and said, "Please tell my mother and Uncle Song for me. I'm moving back and I'll go see them in 2 days." Song Tingzi glanced at Lu Xian and then nodded to Lu Ning. The students from the summer school who came out next to them all looked in the direction of the three of them with eyes full of gossip and inquiry. After watching Lu Ning and Lu Xian leave together, the look in her eyes that was originally looking forward to a good show gradually turned into confusion. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 136. Chapter 136 Pretending to be Careless. The students from the summer school who came out next to them all looked in the direction of the three of them with eyes full of gossip and inquiry. After watching Lu Ning and Lu Xian leave together, the look in her eyes that was originally looking forward to a good show gradually turned into confusion. Didn't it say that Lu Ning was dating Song Tingzi? Why are you leaving with Lu Xian again? Moreover, Song Tingzi was not angry yet. Could it be that they had guessed wrong before and that the two of them were not dating? But when Sun Baran said she liked Song Tingzi before, she didn't deny it, right? Could it be that the relationship hasn't been confirmed yet and you want to be in two different situations? Suddenly there were more speculations about the relationship between the three people. On the other side, Lu Xian successfully took the person away. He was feeling very proud. He ignored everyone's gossip and took the girl directly to the bus stop. Since it was a holiday, there was no one else on the platform except the two of them. Lu Xian glanced at the girl and said, "What's going on between you and the pretty boy named Song?" He has been holding back this question for a whole day, and wanted to ask her at noon, but the boy named Song was always there, and he couldn't find a chance to ask her. "Can you please call him by his name?" Lu Ning rolled her eyes at the other person and said, "Don't you already know what my relationship with him is?" Lu Xian subconsciously tightened his fingers in his trouser pockets, pretending to be casual and said, "I'm talking about another relationship. Now everyone is rumoring that you two are dating, shouldn't you explain it? You say you didn't fall in love early in high school, so you wouldn't have changed your mind so quickly. Who said we were in puppy love? Lu Ning looked at each other in surprise. Now there is no cost to spread rumors, it all depends on one mouth, right? Lu Xian directly handed her the phone and said, see for yourself. He had already asked Zhang Shu to forward the messages his friends had seen in other groups to him early in the morning, and he was waiting to ask this girl face to face. Lu Ning glanced through it briefly and knew that it was caused by what happened in the morning. Many people had speculated about her relationship with Song Tingzi. After all, after Song Tingzi transferred to another school, she was the only girl who got close to him. In addition, many people saw her and Song Tingzi riding to and from school together. There were rumors that she was in two different situations and was having an affair with Lu Xian and Song Tingzi at the same time. However, due to the conflict with Song Anning and her two friends in the toilet, the school later came forward to clarify the matter and warned everyone not to spread rumors. Only then did everyone calm down a little. In the morning, Sun Boyang's words undoubtedly aroused everyone's initial suspicion again. Because she didn't deny it, everyone took it on the spot as a kind of acquiescence in the relationship between the two, and spread it from person to person, and finally reached Lu Xian's ears. We didn't fall in love early, Lu Ning said, this is just a misunderstanding. Then he told the other party what happened in the morning. When he heard that the boy who wrote a love letter to this girl last time didn't give up, Lu Xian narrowed his eyes and said, Sun Boyang, right? It seems that boy didn't take my warning to heart. Wait, I'll help you teach the other person a lesson and keep him from appearing in front of you again. Don't mess around. Lu Ning glanced at him and said, I've made it clear to him. He shouldn't bother me again in the future. Fighting in number 1 middle school will result in a demerit. If it's serious, there will be demerits. May be fired. Because such a person cannot commit a crime. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart. Soft green plum is sweet and wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 137. Chapter 137. You have to have strength to eat soft food. No, this kind of person must be taught a lesson. Lu Xian took that kid to heart and was ready to punish him when he found an opportunity. When the two returned home, they saw Jishu busy in the kitchen. Many of Lu Ning's favorite dishes were already placed on the table. He was very happy to see Lu Ning and urged the two of them to wash their hands and get ready to eat. Lu Xian winked at Lu Ning, look, I didn't lie to you, did I? I told you that my mother had cooked the food and was waiting for you. If you didn't come back today, my mother would have cooked so much food and no one would eat it. It would be very difficult. Disappointment. Lu Ning ignored her and ran directly to the kitchen to help Jishu. She said a lot of nice words along the way, which made Jishu happy. There was laughter from time to time in the kitchen. Lu Xian was leaning at the door of the kitchen, looking at the two people making out affectionately inside, and couldn't help but have a smile on his lips. When Lu Ning looked over, he gestured to her, flattery. Lu Ning immediately complained to Jishu, Aunt Ji, Lu Xian scolded me. Jishu turned around and glared at his brat. The two of them exhaled, ignore the brat, he is just jealous of our good relationship. Yes, after all, this girl is your biological child, and I just picked her up. Lu Xian was already used to this. Jishu, it's good that you know, why don't you take Ning Ning to wash your hands and eat? This girl has to go to school during the summer vacation. She must be exhausted. After eating, go back and rest. And you, learn more from Ning Ning, don't. I'm just fooling around every day. I'm going to be a sophomore in high school next semester. If I don't work hard, I won't be able to get into college and I'll have to move bricks on the construction site. Tisk, who are you looking down on? With your son's good looks, are you still worried that you won't be able to find a job in the future? She took a step back and said, even if she was moving bricks, he would definitely be the brightest person on the construction site. Cub. Jishu glanced at him lightly and said, only when a rich woman takes care of a pretty boy, he only cares about his appearance and not his academic qualifications. Go ahead. Lucian. What is the most deadly thing about complaints from a mother? He has finally seen it today. Mom, you are really my mother, can't you expect me to do something better? Lucian twitched the corner of his mouth and said. Jishu ruthlessly broke his remaining illusion about maternal love and said, no, I am here to help you see reality earlier and stop dreaming about unrealistic dreams. Oh, by the way, I am a rich woman. It's not just about looks, you also have to have a certain level of strength to be able to eat soft food. Lucian. He won't even have the strength to eat soft rice in the future. Does your mother look down on him a little too much? Lucian still didn't believe it, so he turned to look at Lu Ning and said, you also think that I won't even be able to eat soft food in the future? Lu Ning twitched her lips. Can't this person have some pursuits and goals in life? Oh, no, eating soft food is also a pursuit in life. In order not to completely destroy someone's self-confidence, but also to maintain someone's shaky self-esteem, Lu Ning answered him tactfully, not necessarily, maybe there are people who only care about appearance. Lucian. I didn't feel comforted. When Lu Ning came out of the kitchen and passed by him, she saw him suddenly leaning into his ear and saying, if I follow you to eat soft food from now on, do you want it? Lu Ning stopped for a moment, turned around, glanced at him lightly, and said, I'm sorry. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 138. Chapter 138 I said I like you. Tisk. Lucian touched his nose. This girl really refused without leaving any room. Then, what if it were Song Tingzi? Lucian raised his eyebrows, as if he was getting into trouble with the topic of eating soft rice. Lu Ning, your assumption is not valid. If it were him, it would be impossible for him to be a soft-boiled person. Is it possible to co-author it with him? Lucian said unhappily, are you so optimistic about that kid? Has this girl forgotten who is the one who protects her and grows up with her? What does it mean that she is wholeheartedly defending that boy now? Do you really think of me as an older brother? Lu Ning, please be reasonable. It's your own question. I'm just answering your question based on reality. You also said this was a hypothesis, but you just said what if someone is willing? Would you agree? Lucian continued to ask without giving up, with an attitude that he must get a result. Lu Ning narrowed her eyes and looked at the other person suspiciously. Lucian, I really think you have a problem recently. Why do you have to involve Song Tingzi in everything? I'm very surprised. Why do you keep targeting him? Lucian's heartbeat was inexplicably accelerated, and he always felt that his thoughts were being seen through. But he also felt that this was an opportunity to make things clear with the other party, so he hesitated for a moment, and soon made a decision. He looked at Lu Ning and said, what if I say, it's because of you? What do you mean? Lu Ning frowned. Lucian, it means that I can't stand the two of you getting too close, and I don't want to see you and him getting too close, because I will be jealous. Lu Ning's heartbeat suddenly stagnated. The look in his eyes showed surprise and shock, but more importantly, doubts and complexity. Is he joking, or is he serious? Because this guy always said some specious things recently, Lu Ning couldn't tell for a moment how true or false this guy's words were. Are you sincere, or are you just talking casually and jokingly? At this time, Jishu's voice sounded, interrupting the two of them and saying, you two, wash your hands and go over to eat. Lu Ning suddenly came back to her senses and glanced at the other party with a complicated expression. Seeing that the latter was still looking at her directly, as if waiting for her answer, Lu Ning's breathing was a little messy for a moment, and her mind was confused. It was very confusing, and then he quickly turned his head and answered Jishu, Aunt Ji, you'll be here soon. After saying this, turn around. However, Lucien grabbed his wrist and said, "Hey, little girl, I said I like you, and I mean it this time. Do you want to consider it?" Lu Ning glared at the other person and said, "Stop making trouble, this joke is not funny at all." Lucien rarely said with a serious face, "I'm not joking with you, I'm serious." He held it in for a long time before making up his mind. This girl had to give herself an answer no matter what. What are these two children talking about? Is there anything you have to say that can't be left until after dinner? Seeing the two standing still, Jishu couldn't help looking over suspiciously and urged, "Here we come." Lu Ning was inexplicably panicked when she saw him, and she felt guilty for no reason. She quickly pulled her hand away and ran towards the dining table without giving the other party a chance to continue to grab her. "Until I sat down at the dining table, I still felt that my heart was in a mess and my mind was also in a mess. How come that guy suddenly confessed his love to her?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 139. Chapter 139. He seemed to have accidentally angered the girl. While eating, the family clearly felt that Lu Ning was absent-minded. "Even the food I eat is not as much as before." Jishu helped her fill the soup and looked at her with concern. "Ning Ning, are you too tired from class? Or is the food Aunt Ji made today not to your liking?" When Lu Ning heard the other party's question, she shook her head hurriedly and said, "No, Aunt Ji's cooking is delicious. Maybe it's because the weather is hot, so I don't have much appetite." "That's it? Then try this old duck soup made by Aunt Ji." Jishu handed the soup to her. After hearing this, "I specially added poria, tangerine peel, mung beans, and barley to it. It's good for the spleen and stomach. As the saying goes, this soup is better than a tonic in summer. Don't worry, I've skimmed off all the fat on it and it's not greasy at all." "Thank you, Aunt Ji." Lu Ning took the soup and took a sip. "Well, it's delicious." Jishu said with a smile, "If it tastes good, drink more. It's the time when you are growing up, especially in class, so you must eat more and replenish yourself." Lu Ning twitched her lips obediently towards the other party. "Mom, serve me some too, I want to make up for it too," Lucien said and handed his bowl to the other party. "Shin, don't you have any hands?" Jishu glared at him directly. "Isn't it something I can't reach?" Lucien's hand holding the bowl changed direction and handed the bowl to Lu Ning opposite, saying, "Sister, why don't you help me fill it?" Lu Ning's fingertips trembled, and her ears itched inexplicably. She always felt that his sister's scream had a special meaning. The voice used to sound normal in the past, but now every word sounds like it was intentional. Lu Ning raised her head, and just as she was about to say something, she heard Jishu's voice, "Stand up if you can't reach me. Who can spoil you? Isn't it just helping to fill the bowl of soup? It's not as serious as you said." "You think so, sister?" Lucien blinked in Lu Ning's direction. Lu Ning glanced at him with a complicated expression. It was obviously the other person who expressed his feelings, but as a result, his mood was messed up, but he himself seemed to be fine. Thinking about it, he didn't particularly care about his confession. Maybe it was just a whim, but he was too nervous as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Lu Ning couldn't help but grit her teeth, took the bowl from his hand, smiled at him and said, "Okay, I'll help you." The moment he met her smile, Lucien's heart skipped a beat for no apparent reason. "It's over." He seemed to have accidentally angered the girl. Lucien suddenly wanted to say no, come on his own, but he saw that Lu Ning had already handed him the soup and said, "Drink more, and refresh your brain." By the way, the last few words were clearly said with a smile. Lucien felt a murderous aura for no reason. "Haha, Okay, Lucian took it with a smile. After eating, Lu Ning wanted to help clean up. However, Jishu kicked him out of the kitchen and said, as long as your Uncle Lu helps me, I don't need you. Yes, yes, Lu Yu on the side said with a smile, just leave small things like washing dishes to me. Your Aunt Ji said that from now on, our family will have to work to have pocket money, but we can't steal Uncle Lu's opportunity to earn pocket money. After saying that, he winked at Lu Ning and looked pitiful. Lu Ning couldn't help but be amused. Then it's all thanks to Uncle Lu. End of this chapter. The School Sweetheart Soft Green Plum is Sweet and Wild. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 140. Chapter 140, Sister, your demands are a bit high. Coming out of the kitchen, Lu Ning packed up her things and prepared to go back next door. As soon as he arrived at the door, he saw Lucian chasing him out. Lu Ning deliberately ignored him and opened the door of her home. After entering the house, he was about to close the door, but he saw a foot reaching in first. Lu Ning couldn't hold her hand for a moment, and the door directly pinched the other person's feet. Suddenly there was a sound of inhalation. Lu Ning immediately opened the door, frowned at the other person and said, "Are you okay?" But Lucian raised his head with a smile and said, "I lied to you, it's okay." Lu Ning glared at him and was about to close the door, but Lucian entered the room first and said, "Okay, don't be angry, why don't I stop teasing you next time?" Lu Ning froze. "So, what you said just now when you said you liked me was just teasing me?" "That's not the case." Lucian shook his head. "I am serious about confessing my love for you, and I am serious about liking you, but you haven't told me yet whether you want to date me or not." "Didn't you say that puppy love is not allowed in high school?" Lu Ning asked him deliberately. "I want to know how the other person plans to swallow back what he said." Lucian was speechless for a moment and said, "Aren't I afraid that you will be deceived by the dogs outside?" Lu Ning rolled her eyes at him angrily. "You are the dog." Yes, yes, I am a dog, not to mention a dog." He also recognized a pig. "Who let him dig a hole for himself?" "So, do you want to date me?" "Don't worry, I promise to be the most loyal dog in the world." Lu Ning. Lu Ning really wanted to ask, where is the other party's moral integrity? "You know, I didn't plan to fall in love in high school." Lu Ning put away the unnecessary expression on her face and looked at Lucian seriously. This girl did say that she didn't fall in love early in high school. Before, he was happy that the other person had such awareness, but now, forget it, talking too much would make him cry. Lucian was still a little unwilling to give up and asked, "I can't do it either." Lu Ning, no. Although Lucian was a little disappointed, it was expected. This girl has always had her own ideas. Since it was her decision, she might not change it for a while. He said, "Okay. If you don't fall in love early, I can queue up and make an appointment first, right?" At least this girl didn't reject him directly, which meant that he still had hope. Lu Ning. I've never heard of people queuing up to make an appointment for something like this. Lucian, anyway, we have agreed that when you want to fall in love, you must give me priority first. Who told him? Lu Ning glanced at the guy and saw that he was looking directly at her. After all, he did not refuse directly. Instead, he said, "Let's wait until you are admitted to the same university as me." "Tisk, sister, your demands are a bit high." Lucian narrowed his eyes and looked at her. "You don't want to reject me in this way, do you?" Lu Ning, you can give up now. Lucian immediately said, "Give up? It is impossible to give up, even in this life. However, it must be the same university. Can it be done with a slightly worse one? This girl is going to take the entrance examination of Nanjing University." Lucian felt a toothache when he thought of Nanjing University's score line. Moreover, his goal is to be a pilot. As far as he knows, there is no aviation major at NTU. Lu Ning, No, I don't accept long-distance relationships. This is easy to do, Lucien said with curled lips, then we can take the test in the same city, right? End of this chapter.